Hello.
Hi,
Can you tell us your full name?
Leah, Danielle Amton.
When were you born and where are you from?
I was born in 1980 and I'm from Wisconsin.
What month and day?
I was born in July on the 16th. It was a Wednesday.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Tell me about where you're from.
I'm from Wisconsin. Um, I was born in Rice Lake, but we lived in Barron, Wisconsin, which is north of Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
What was it like growing up in where you're from?
Um, it was cold in the winters, hot in the summers. Where I'm from, um, there's a lot of outdoorsy activities. so I, it,
Like
that's where
what
what it
kind
was
of
like.
outdoorsy activities?
Okay, so hunting, fishing, hiking,
Did,
bike riding.
did you do a lot of hunting and fishing and bike riding?
We didn't hunt as much. When I was young, my dad went hunting with a friend of his and he fell out of a tree stand and was crippled, and so he never went hunting again.
Oh, what about fishing?
We went fishing all the time. We went fishing on camping trips. Every summer we would go on a camping trip, but we would go fishing all the time on my dad's boat.
Well, tell me about your parents. What were your mom and dad's names?
My mom's name is Diane. My dad's name is Joel. My mom was born and raised in a small town in Minnesota. Her mom died giving birth to her, and her dad was 19. So she was raised in Wyoming for 5 years of her life um, from her aunt and uncle, and then she went to go live with her dad again when he remarried. And she has one half sister and and two half brothers that are the same age as my two brothers, because he got remarried again after after her first stepmom died. And then my dad was born and raised in Wisconsin on a dairy farm, small dairy farm in Wisconsin in the 50s. Very hardworking man. He um, was a jokester, I'm told, when he was younger, and he loves to be funny, but he's quite a serious looking guy, an acting guy. But he's the middle of 6 children.
So, how did your parents meet?
Um, my mom was 15, and and at that time, my grandpa was married to his second wife, and she did not like my mom, and she had a drinking problem, and so did he, and they thought it was best if she lived with some family friends. And she moved to Wisconsin when she was 15 and lived with what is my dad's cousin and his wife. And so that's how they met. My dad was, I think, 18 or something, or 17, and my mom was 15. And they met, and then they got married when my mom was 17 and my dad was 21.
So, you said you had two brothers. Tell me about your siblings.
I am the youngest of 5 siblings. I am 9 years difference between my oldest sister. Um, my oldest sister is April, and then I have a brother who's 7 years older than me, Nate, and then a brother that's 3 years older than me, who's Aaron, and then I have a sister who was a year and a half older than me, and her name was Andrea.
Okay. Your mother once told me a story about finding you in your Sunday dress sitting in a sink full of dishes. Was this sort of thing common for you and your siblings?
I don't remember anything about that because I was less than a year old, but I know that I was told that my siblings helped me, and we were always up to something. Yeah, we climbed up the climbed up the garbage or something, and I wanted to splash around in the dirty dishwater. Yeah.
What else did you and your siblings get up to?
Oh goodness, I remember a lot of things. We used to have neighborhood water balloon fights when I was younger, and all the neighbor kids would get the coolers and fill up water balloons all day, and then we would just run around the whole neighborhood and have water balloon fights. And my dad used to flood the garden with a hose in the wintertime, and we would ice skate on like a 10 by 12 patch of bumpy ice. And then I remember these boys next door would always try and get us to eat dog poop, saying it was something, it was like a treat, or, like our, they would promise me it tasted like apple pie. Like, they were just so terrible, terrible kids. And we would, I don't know, I remember one of them threw a rock at my head and I passed out for a little bit. I remember one of my brothers and the neighbor used to play golf, and so they would hit golf balls into our yard from their yard through a blanket on the line so it wouldn't go too far. But they didn't know that I was on the other side, and they pelted me in the back with a huge golf ball, and it left a big giant welt of bruise, and they bribed me with everything they could to not tell my mom, but I took their treats and told my mom.
Yeah. So, you described, it sounds like pretty good days.
Yeah.
Did you have any jobs as a young person?
I think, yeah, I worked when I was about 14. I worked at, Walmart, and then I worked at a restaurant as a bus person, a bus boy, at a place called the Bolo Inn in Menominee, and they had the best popovers in town. They were known for their popovers.
What's a popover?
Popover is like in between a biscuit and a Yorkshire pudding. You don't know what a popover is?
I don't.
Oh,
no.
For real?
Yeah, for real. I don't know.
Oh, okay. No, it's like a bun, but it's so full of steam that it blows kind of up, and it's a little hollow, but it's eggy on the inside and crispy on the outside. No, it's like a.
So,
yeah.
How
There's
long?
some Cooking Network.
Oh, well. How long did you have that job?
Actually, I only had it for for maybe 4 months, maybe. I had a severe case of appendicitis, and one night I was in so much pain, I had to go home, and then the next day I had emergency surgery and had my appendix removed, and they didn't get it all, and had to have another surgery, and it was quite a hubbub.
So
I just didn't go back.
Well,
It was a long time recovering.
well, how long did it take you to recover?
About 6 months to a year. I mean, it took a while for them to get the infection out.
So about how old were you at that point then?
15.
15, when you were fully recovered as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was about 14, and then I had the surgery, and then that following summer, I was 15. I remember just starting to heal up, and that's when my mom left. My mom and dad got divorced. Yeah.
So your parents divorced. How did you feel about that at the time?
I think there was mixed feelings. I, you know, my parents didn't get along very well for quite some time. Um, my older siblings were out of the house at that time, and uh, it was extremely um, foreseen by me and my sister, who still live there, and my brother and one of my younger brother, not my youngest of the two brothers, and but my older two were just kind of shocked about it because they didn't really see them fight that much when they were younger, in the house.
Sure.
But they just didn't get along anymore.
Okay.
So it was kind of nice, and it was sad because I didn't want my mom to go away.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Where did your mom go after?
She moved to Maine because that's where her sister, her half sister, Barb Kreiner, she lived in Maine, and so she went to go live with her sister for a little bit, and she's lived there forever now.
So she's still
lives
there. Yeah. And is your dad still in Wisconsin?
Yeah.
So what are your parents doing today?
Well, my mom is retired from being a CNA and a CRMA for a very long time. She's been retired for quite some time. She takes care of her husband. He just had hip surgery, but she crochets. She just made my daughter a beautiful little sweater because she outgrew her old sweater. So she just crocheted her up one. I took her measurements and texted them to her, so she'll be surprised when she gets the new sweater. And then my dad, he's rides bike. He rode 20 miles the other day, he said, and he goes with his camper. He's retired from working in the dairy industry in the laboratory for all my life, over 40 years.
So you mentioned your daughter. How many children do you have?
I have 4 children. Our oldest is 25 this year, and we have 19 and a 16 and a 6-year-old.
And they're all your children, like by birth, or?
No, our oldest is my husband's from another marriage, but we got married when he was 4, and he's not seen his biological mother but once in the 20 years I've been married, and so I've never met her, but yeah. So I consider him I don't like go tell everybody I have a stepson. I've never said it.
So how did you feel about becoming mother to a 4-year-old child?
My mom's reaction, because we were quite young, was kind of funny. We were sitting around the table, and I told my mom that I was going to get married. I was 23 at the time. I was 23 at the time, and we were sitting at the table, and I said we were getting married, and she was like shocked, and then I said, yeah, I never really wanted to have kids of my own, but it's nice that he has a son, and we can help take care. And she said, what? You're gonna have a child? You are a child. You can't even take care of yourself. How are you gonna take care of a child? And her husband was laughing, just kind of like cut it out and be supportive, kind of. And it was kind of at that point still blissful, and like I can do this, like I got this, but I loved him a lot, and I still do, and it's been rough because he didn't live with us until he was 9, so it was rough trying to get to be his mom ever. It still is rough, but.
So, we probably should back up a little. What are your children's names?
Well, her oldest was called Ben when he was little, but he has wanted to become a woman, so he goes by Hazel now. And then our next youngest is our son Simon, and then the 16-year-old boy is Henry, and then our youngest is Elizabeth, but we call her Betsy.
And so tell me about your husband and like what's his name? Where did you meet?
Well, my husband's name is Virgil, and we met in Maine.
Hold on, this name sounds familiar.
I happen to believe you are my husband.
The big reveal.
Yes. My husband is very charming. He thinks he's funny, but you know, he always not always is. But we met in Maine. I went to go live in Maine after I graduated high school, and then I came back to Wisconsin, and then I went back to Maine again a couple years later, and when I was living there, lots of stuff in between. But when I was around 23, I was on a pool league in a pool hall, and we happened to know quite a few of the same people, and happened to be in the same place at the same time. And, that's how we met.
And then, what's married life been like?
Well,
I mean,
even though you know,
I mean, it's,
from my perspective.
Well, I mean, granted, you know, there's an awful lot of positive, I'd say, you know.
Yes, yes. We have a really wonderful life. It has not been all cherries and candy, you know, like and whimsical bliss. We've had our troubles, and we've had a lot of great things.
Well, what do you think is were the most impactful events of our marriage?
Impactful, positively impactful, or negatively impactful? Or both?
Either. Let's do one of each.
Okay, so I think that there's been, quite a few impactful times. I think that one of the biggest difficult things that happened was when you were deployed. You know, when Henry was born, he was 3 weeks old. So that was how long ago?
Oh,
He's 16. He's almost 17. So that was almost 17 years ago.
Wow,
Yeah,
time flies.
I know. Jeez, that was difficult. That was difficult for me. I moved back. I was 9 months pregnant. We lived in Sparta, Wisconsin, a little village outside Toma, and Fort McCoy, and I was 9 months pregnant, and we moved, and I remember it being 100 degrees that day, and we moved to my hometown in Wisconsin, so that when you were deployed, that I could be closer to my family. And then I remember, when after Henry was born, he was 3 weeks old, and you had moved, and I was taking care of a 2.5-year-old and a 3-week-old, and that was a difficult time. I remember it being hard to adjust to you being gone, and adjust when you came back. It was a pretty big time.
What do you think the highlight has been, or what is an impactful thing that's happened that's positive?
I think positively impactful has been the times where we come together and push through things in the midst of the down times, like I don't know, there's just so many. There are so many times that it's been pretty difficult, but I'd have to say that like when we're faced with times that are difficult or that are potentially difficult, we really come together as a family. And like our kids, when they were the boys when they were little, you know, they always knew that we loved them and that we were there for them. And even though we moved around a lot, that they always really felt solid. And I feel like the most positive thing is that we always know that we're solid, and that nothing is really going to break that foundation that we have in our family, because we know that we have each other. And I think that that's always been, the most beautiful part of our relationship and family.
So, based on your life lived so far, if somebody saw this 50 years from now and you could give them one piece of advice about being married, being a woman, uh, what would you say to a young 23-year-old who just met the most handsome, charming fellow on earth who has a 4-year-old son?
Don't do it. I'm just kidding. Wait a couple years. Run a credit report. No, I'm not kidding, but I think that let's see. I think that just believe in that part of yourself that tells yourself it's going to be okay.
So has it been okay?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to interview.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, Leah.
Bye. See ya tomorrow.